Like seriously, the disregard that we have for understanding the basic principles behind some of the things that we do on a normal basis, it's not only concerning, it's just fucking lazy and ignorant behavior. So let's jump straight to the fucking point. If you're gonna take anything from this video, please just let it be this. The things that you need to learn very, very well, and the things that make up the basis of everything that you're gonna learn in life are a handful. You can count them. They are finite. They are these few things that you need to know. Okay, what you build from those things, what those things end up turning into, is an infinite realm of possibilities. There's an infinite amount of things that you can do from there on. It's like thinking about what addition, subtraction, division mean and how you can use that in math. You know, it's the same way that starting a business through one stream of income. What can that turn into? Okay, think about sports. The basics of your technique are what constitutes everything that you're gonna keep doing through the rest of your career. If you're a rugby player, you know, you'll learn how to pass on your very first day. What are you gonna be doing for the rest of your career? Passing that ball. Same thing with kicking, same thing with tackling. Okay? Look at Olympic weightlifting. That's like probably the best example when it comes to sport. Olympic weightlifting is an incredibly simple sport. It's 3 lifts: snatch, clean, and jerk. Okay? Clean and jerk at the same time on the same lift. It's 6 lifts that you go through in any competition. That's it. You might train for months, do a million variations, do squats, do pulls, bodybuilding, a ton of work, and it all comes back to just executing those 6 lifts. A minute in that platform. You know, you get a minute per lift, so it's technically 6 minutes, but the amount of time that you actually spend working on the lifts on the platform is probably closer to a minute. You know, unless you're really fighting a snatch, it might be like 10, 12 seconds. If you're really fighting a clean and then really fighting the jerk, call it 20 seconds. You know, but if the lifts go well, I mean, you're going to be done with every snatch in 6 seconds. You're going to be done with every clean and jerk in like 10 or 12. And that's your entire competition. But what goes on during those lifts is incredibly complex. And it all comes back to the same basics you learn on your very first day in the gym. Keep that bar close to you. You know, the trajectory of the bar from the pull up to full extension is well known, well documented. It's going to fall into this set few patterns. You need to have a double knee bend. You need to reach that triple extension. Yes, Olympic weightlifting is one of those sports where like a half-inch difference in the length of your femur can make a huge fucking difference. You know, is your torso a little longer than your legs? Great. Is your fibula or tibia a little bit longer than your femurs? Amazing. Little shit like that can make a huge difference. Like the point of insertion of your tendons into the bone, you know, it's a thing that can make a big difference in the sport. And even then, all of the weightlifters that you know, regardless of what the technique looks like, follow the same principles, you know, with slight variations. I promise you, this is how it works. So spend time learning the basics. You know, it is the only way forward. And I know that everybody says this. I know that this is something that we all say and that we all kind of agree with, and we all say like, oh yeah, this is very true. This is a very profound thing to say. But nobody does it and nobody pays attention to this, okay? Everybody just wants to jump the gun and go to the next step, you know? And I see this everywhere, in life, in businesses, in my work, everywhere. You know what a business does when it starts off from the ground zero, first day? They try to make money. You know what a business does when they're worth or they're valued at a half a trillion dollars? They're trying to make money. It is the same thing. You know, I recently got promoted a few months ago. I'm a manager now. I have direct reports. You know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get my work done. You know what I was doing when I was them on their shoes? I was trying to get work done. And why am I good at my job? Because I get things done. I get to the bottom of it. I figure out what it is that we actually do here, and then I just finish it. There are no excuses. There are no complaints. You know, oh, this happened. Shit's always gonna happen. Go back to what do we have to do? We have to finish the fucking budget. We have to get the budget approved. We have to start construction. Period. That's it. There's no like, well, this happens and then this. No, it's the basics. It's the budget. I don't care. Finish the budget. Little things like that that just drive me absolutely insane. Let's do simple better. Let's work to do simple better. Okay, before you jump the gun, before you try to make things more complex, focus on a handful of things and get very, very, very good at them. Okay, figure out the intricacies. Fall in love with the process of just repeating and repeating and repeating the basics. And this is on everything. Look at any professional athlete. You know what they're really good at? The basics. They have all their bases covered. And they do have this one thing that sets them above the rest, like one particular skill, one particular area of the game that they're very good at. But they wouldn't be able to showcase that if all of the basics were not covered, if all of their basic skills were not like at the top level. That's what you max out first before you build your game. And it's hard, and it requires discipline and it requires time to be willing to like step back and start over. Step back and start over. And every time you start over, you increase your floor a little bit. Everybody's always worried about their ceiling, like pushing their ceiling. Not a lot of people are worried about raising the floor and making sure that even in your worst days, you're still better than the rest. This is what separates the all-time grades from the people who are just great. It's the fact that all of their basics are covered. It's the fact that there's no holes in their game. And then they have this one little thing that they are world-class at. And you see this everywhere, and you should demand this from people. Look at the state of politics nowadays. What are the basics of every public servant? Being able to answer a question. Answer a question. And I don't see that happening very often nowadays when you turn on the TV. What are the basics of anybody in a leadership position? Taking accountability. Where's that at? And you may think I'm crazy, like, hey, it's not that serious. It's really not that serious. And you may be right, but I don't think you are. Seriously, the disregard that we have for understanding the basic principles behind some of the things that we do on a normal basis is concerning. It's lazy. It's not only concerning, it's just fucking lazy and ignorant behavior. It's like we live in the age of information, in the golden age for learning, where every single question you may have, it's literally at the tip of your fingers. So you can just type in the question and get the answer immediately. And people refuse to do that. It's almost like it's too easy now, so it doesn't matter. And it's something that genuinely drives me insane because there is a misconception when it comes to theory, discipline, and practice. And it's this notion that it traps you, that is sort of like this jail that inhibits creativity. And it is the complete opposite. It is only through the constant repetition that we must go on in order to perfect the basics that we can unlock creativity. There's a teacher back in college that put it very well for me. It's like, when you're an undergrad, you're essentially an idiot. You are learning how to learn. And it's only after you essentially capped that and completed that stage that you can go into your master's, and actually start putting what you learn into use and into practice. Or you can go into the real world and do the same thing. It is that time and effort, it is that discipline that unlocks creativity for you. One of the world's best pianists, he's from Chile, he's from my hometown, and he said in an interview that you spend the first 40 years of your career as a pianist learning everything that you can and learning all the theory, and then you spend the rest of your career and the rest of your life trying to forget it and let the music just flow. And that flow state is not going to be acquired unless you are an expert in the basics. I don't know how many times I've said basics in this video, but hopefully I've driven the point home. So please let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. Free training guide below. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to talk. I love talking to you guys in the comments. So yeah, thank you for watching. And yeah, bye.
It is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If we take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Understanding others, the other elements, and the other nations will help you become whole.